I came in with one purpose only, and that is to change lives for the better. We made key choices yesterday in relation to the future of our country.
So choices that weren't in your manifesto. There was no suggestion of £40 billion of tax rises in that manifesto, Prime Minister.
We inherited a very badly damaged economy.
This budget was made against the working people. They brazenly deceived us and do not even want to apologize for it. The Labour Party is a disgrace to our country, and the fact that they are now being harshly humiliated and insulted on live TV is fair. We will also talk to you about Starmer's mental health. We're starting to watch.
I mean, they made the point that now borrowing has hit a high over the course of the last year in reaction to this budget. The markets have looked at it and they've said no thank you,
right.
because this isn't a budget in their view that's going to stimulate economic growth. The markets are based, it's very intelligent people and lots of very complicated algorithms, and they come to a view as to whether this country is going anywhere economically, and they've made the decision going on the basis of this budget, given the high taxes that now, have gone up 40 billion, the burden of tax is going to go up to 38%, that actually Britain, under this Chancellor, and this is the view of the markets, is not going to secure economic growth. It's not going to get better, and that's why they don't think it's worth necessarily. We've seen the pound fall against.
London is mired in severe budget wars. Labour has presented its first budget, which is becoming a nightmare for the country. Britain is expecting a sharp increase in tax collections by £40 billion at once. This is a real blow to the already crisis economy. Moreover, the tax burden will become a record in history. This did not happen even during the Second World War. The middle class, businessmen, and private schools are also under attack. Well, foreign oligarchs who enjoyed preferential taxation in Britain. The adoption of such a budget will lead to an even greater outflow of investors from the country. Britain is already becoming a world leader in the number of millionaires leaving. If few people want to invest in a barely alive and tax-strangled economy, the number of British companies on the verge of bankruptcy jumped by a third and reached 633,000. All the same, a sharp rise in the level of borrowing is expected up to £120 billion per year, although Britain's national debt has already exceeded 100% of the size of the economy for the first time in 60 years. Well, London now spends as much as twice as much on servicing the national debt as on its military expenses. Additional expenses will be spent on nonsense like green energy, and pensioners are being deprived of subsidies for winter heating. In general, the restructuring of Britain by Starmer is going according to plan. No British Prime Minister in history has ever managed to destroy the country so successfully in 3 months in power. The current situation raises parallels with the Liz Truss mini-budget crisis in 2020-22.
Prime Minister, your popularity has collapsed more significantly after winning an election than any other Prime Minister in modern history. Is that because you essentially misled the country during the election and you've raised taxes in a way that no one was expecting or voted for?
I came into politics relatively late in life, having done other things. I came in with one purpose only, and that is to change lives for the better. We made key choices yesterday in relation to the future of our country.
So choices that weren't in your manifesto. There was no suggestion of £40 billion of tax rises in that manifesto, Prime Minister.
We inherited a very badly damaged economy. We audited the books and found £22 billion missing. We had to do the responsible thing, which is to stabilise the economy.
After the pandemic, we witnessed an authoritarian turn in liberal democracies. The government is strengthening itself as totalitarianism, striving for a two-tier society in which there are masters and servants. The mainstream media presents policies and regulations as useful and progressive. Anyone who doubts the true purpose of such innovations is called a conspiracy theorist. Huge amounts of public money are being spent on goals that few people support when voted. £3 billion for arms supplies to Ukraine, £6 billion for hotels for migrants, £7 billion for foreign aid and £6 billion for the crazy HS2 railway. The reality of Starmer's restructuring is a divide and conquer strategy where diversity is a weakness.
He just tells lies after lies now, because they didn't inherit a bad economy. They inherited actually an economy which was in pretty good shape. And they knew about a black hole because we've got texts and we've got video clips of him saying that there was a black hole of £54 million when he was asking Rishi Sunak about whether he was going to cancel the winter fuel allowance. And that was back in April, right? So absolute rubbish to say that we discovered that there was money missing and that we inherited a bad economy. Not true.
He knew about the problem. The Institute for Fiscal Studies, and that is, seen as being very supportive of sort of if you like, the centre-left orthodoxy has come out and said that we knew the books, but we knew everything that was in the financial books before the
Labour is very fond of repeating the same mantra that the new government inherited the worst economic conditions since the Second World War. Some economists say this is more of a Labour political slogan than a serious analysis.
Spending this money, then he is not just doing it, and this is, you would expect this anyway, he's not doing it just out of his goodness of his heart.
No,
this isn't just some sort of donation to say, oh, well, there, just have some free clothes. He expects to be able to pick up the phone. He expects to have access. He expects to have, the ear of ministers. And it's important to understand exactly how when people give money or make donations, what they get in return, what decisions are being affected, where, as you say, do they have that access. And this
Rayner, Starmer and Reeves stopped accepting donations to pay for clothes after the Prime Minister and his inner circle were criticised for accepting free items. How much power does Lord Ali have in the Labour government? Starmer insists that he is just a sponsor, demanding nothing in return for his generosity. But having presented Starmer and senior ministers with more than £310,000 in gifts and services, he received a pass to Downing Street, which is usually issued only to those working there. Then it was found out that the person responsible for the selection of candidates for deputies from the party, Matthews Faulding, had previously worked on the staff of Lord Ali. Would he have gained such influence if he hadn't sponsored half of the cabinet? Or did his donations help him get a seat at the government table? Over the years he has donated about £700,000 to various figures in the Labour Party. But for a man whose fortune is estimated at £200 million, this is an insignificant amount.
I've also just been handed a piece of paper that tells me that the value for money czar, this dude David Goldstone, he can afford some stones of gold anyway after this, he will be paid £950 a day for 1 day a week on the Office of the Value for Money. He is the chairman of the Office for Value for Money. I promise you he worked in the Olympics, which went vastly over budget. I promise you he is on the board currently of HS2, not exactly the world's most value for money project. And yeah, it's been announced that he will be paid £950 a day for an average commitment of 1 day a week. This is £49,400 over the course of a year, far more than the average salary for people who work 9 to 5 days a week. Equivalent to a full-time salary of about £250,000, significantly more than Keir Starmer's £166,000 salary.
David Goldstone will advise the Chancellor and the Chief Secretary of the Treasury on public spending cuts, and he will receive £950 a day for it. Goldstone will hold this position for a year, and it will supposedly help to benefit from every pound of government spending. This position involves providing recommendations for cost savings through system reform and improved policy outcomes. Goldstone is expected to work an average of 1 day a week. Previously, he was the Executive Director of the Office for the Restoration and Renewal of Parliament and also worked as Chief Operating Officer at the Ministry of Defence. Goldstone also oversaw the government's £9.3 billion investment for the Olympic Games in 2012.
And let's also talk about how unhappy he looks. I don't think he looks great. I really don't. I say that sort of soberly. You know, I looked at him next to Rachel Reeves delivering the budget, and, you know, a Prime Minister next to a Chancellor delivering a historic budget should be all eager-eyed, all kind of happy-faced, positive. He just looked wretched. He looked as was withdrawn, he looked haggard, he looked anxious, and well, he might be, given what he and his colleagues are doing to our country. But that does not say to me that this guy is in a good place emotionally at this point.
No, I don't think he is. I think he's finding the job too much for him, frankly. I think he's finding it incredibly difficult, incredibly kind of time-consuming. I mean, he went in, let's not forget, with his idea that he wasn't going to work beyond 6 o'clock on a Friday.
This guy, who was supposed to be the face of the Labour Party and lead it to victory, is now going through a real storm, because half of the country just hates him. When a person is in plain sight like him, it means that he is under constant pressure. His every step, every word is under the gun, and now no one is shy to criticize him for everything. Now we see how Starmer is fighting this hatred. He's trying to stay afloat, but sometimes it feels like it's too hard. So he just closes his eyes and ears and pretends he doesn't hear anything. What do you think about this video? Write your opinion in the comments. See you.